Hello, what is up, guys? Jeff Kerdakis here, and thank you for tuning in to another episode where we are sitting down with Roger Ver. In this episode, we're taking a look at the current state of the economy, what may potentially happen in the future, and what things Roger sees may be beneficial to implement in the near term to turn things around for the better. We'll discuss why did cryptocurrency not perform well during this massive market correction when that was what a lot of us expected it to do. We're going to discuss what could have happened to have set us up for a crypto proliferation and what steps are being taken now to potentially improve the chances of that happening in the future. We're also going to be talking about laws and how in a lot of instances laws are potentially made to be broken. We'll also of course be going over Bitcoin Cash and a whole lot more. I hope you guys enjoy this episode and let's dive right in. We are living in some crazy unprecedented times right now. And I'm curious to hear your quick overview, insights, just to kind of lay the framework of a lot that we're going to dive into today. What's really going on in the economy, what you foresee potentially coming in the future as well.
Yeah,
It's a
the world
loaded
always
question.
seems crazy. Yeah, the world always seems
Yeah.
crazy, and it just seems like it gets crazier and crazier year after year. So like they're out there printing money like crazy while everybody's not allowed to go to work. Like that seems like it's like a only bad things can come of that. So like you pay everybody
Hmm.
to stay at home, and then you expect the money to be able to buy the things that people used to produce while they're at work. Like who's out there producing all the things that the money buys? So this is just a disaster. You're literally incentivizing people not to work to make the world a better place. So what actually needs to happen is people need to go back there and get back to work, start producing the food and the houses and the cars and the computers and the things that people need in their lives. And the people that are, at high risk of, being seriously ill, they can self-isolate. But like the young and healthy people or the people that have already had the coronavirus, let them go out there and get the world back on track again. This is just a disaster here, and it's getting worse by the time. Like the longer people are locked down, the more people are going to die, not from the coronavirus, but from the negative economic ramifications around the world. So the number of people dying from that is going to be far, far, far more than the coronavirus itself.
Right. And I think that's been a big conversation that I think has been underplayed quite a bit is that people are really, realizing potentially the severity of the coronavirus, but also I think people aren't necessarily taking into account the severity of the economic implications. I think a lot of people feel, oh, the economy is just this machine that is really inevitable or it doesn't really have an effect on us personally, but it's just more this system for the global elite, I think is what a lot of people think. But I think what you highlighted is 100% correct is that no, this isn't just a system. This is the way people put food in their mouths and a roof over their head. And so, and especially being like, I think more libertarian mindset that you are, that yeah, people should have their own decisions and be able to free to get the food in their mouth, put the roof over their head still. Yeah.
And it's worth pointing out that the default condition of people in the world, it isn't prosperity and having enough to eat. The default position is, starvation and poverty and misery. And the question shouldn't be like, oh, why are some people poor? The question should be, why are some people rich? Why do some people have enough food to eat? How can we duplicate that over and over so everybody has enough food to eat and everybody has, a warm place to sleep? And the answer to that is through trade. Trading with other people makes everybody better off. If the trade isn't allowed to if the trade happens, it's because both people think they're better off after the trade. And so anytime you prevent people from being able to trade with somebody else, you're preventing the world from being a better place. If you send $1,000 to Apple for your iPhone, it's because you think the iPhone is worth more to you in your life than the $1,000 you have. And Apple thinks that the $1,000 you give them is worth more than the iPhone that they produce. So both of you are richer after the trade. Same story when you go to the supermarket. If you buy some food at the supermarket, it's because you value the food more than the money you gave the supermarket, and the supermarket values the money that they got from you more than the food that they gave you. So both of you are richer afterwards. So if you're preventing people from going to work and trading, and the same is true with your employer too. When you go to work and work for an employer, the employer values the work that you do more than he values the money that he gives to you, and you value the money that you get from him more than the work that you do for him. So like both people are better off. And so suddenly if you have the government all over the world telling everybody, you're not allowed to go to work, you're not allowed to go to the store, you're not allowed to trade with people, you're literally preventing the world from making it a better place than it otherwise would have been. And this is a disaster, not just for the individuals involved, but for the entire human race as a whole as well. So it really needs to come to a stop as soon as possible. People need to be able to get back to work and do whatever it is they want in their life and start trading with other people and start making the world a better place.
I think this is exactly. I think you bring really strong points there. So, in the vision that you're envisioning here, it's that just boom, cold cut, everyone goes back to work, make your own decisions. If you're a high risk category, you stay at home and everybody just lives their lives as they want to. Because I think a lot of people are very happy to stay home because they maybe have this fear-based mindset of the virus, and so they can stay home. But for those who want to go out, want to work, you're saying just open the gates. Let's get it done right now.
Yeah, great summary. And yeah, people are dying, but people die of diseases, every day all over the world. Staying in bed all day is dangerous too, right? Like getting out of bed in the morning is dangerous. Like everything is dangerous in life. So like you need to figure out and decide, what risks are worth taking and which ones aren't. So like I saw some dumb politician on YouTube the other day. I think it was like the governor of New York or something like that, saying like, you shouldn't ever put a price on a human life, right? Like there's no amount of work, but like people put prices on human lives every single day. Like it's not fun or nice to think of it that way, but like it's like they're talking, we can't afford to take any risks whatsoever. Well, think about it, like driving a car. How many fewer accidents would there be if nobody was allowed to drive faster than 10 miles an hour, right? And no car could ever go more than 10 miles an hour. Almost nobody would ever die in a car accident ever again. So you'd save,
Right.
hundreds of thousands of lives around the world. But the cost isn't worth it, right? People would rather be able to drive faster than 10 miles an hour, knowing that more people will die in car accidents around the world, but the benefit to the individuals involved, the benefits outweigh the risks involved. And the same is true with like coronavirus. Yeah, maybe you'll get coronavirus, maybe you'll die, but like still being able to go out into the world and do your things and take whatever precautions you feel are appropriate, that's a risk worth taking for some people, and for other people it won't, right? I'm sure there's some people, I've seen some people occasionally that don't drive faster than 10 miles an hour, right? So
Right.
there's some people that will stay home as well because they're scared of the coronavirus, and people should be, for the most part, free to do those sorts of things. If you're driving less than 10 miles an hour everywhere, maybe you can find your own road to do it on. But for the coronavirus, if you're that scared, stay home. More power to you for staying home if you want to, but don't threaten the rest of the world with violence trying to force them to do the same thing.
For sure. And you mentioned, the sacrifice of lives, kind of like in this big balance of, risk versus reward. And that's essentially how life operates. Do the government right now is locking everybody in. The economy is getting crushed in multiple senses. I think oil just dipped to its lowest level since 1999, a few hours ago. So where do you feel that there's bigger forces at play, maybe to like dip a toe in the conspiracy theory pot a bit, or like behind the big black curtain? Or do you think that they're just being so reactionary to the public's opinion and like the brute force of the people saying like, keep people inside? I think that's the overwhelming majority. There might not be as many people in the same camp as you are. I think more people are living in fear. So do you feel it's more reactionary, or do you feel that, they're really like, because there's hyperinflation happening? Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts is what's really happening, if they're really stupid or if there's a bigger plan at play right now.
I don't think it's a bigger plan at play. I think it's just a lot of monkey see, monkey do type of stuff. Right. And where people just see everyone else is wearing a mask and not getting their haircut. Like I can't get a haircut and I better wear a mask too. And that's how humans have evolved over millions of years, is they see what other people are doing and you imitate it, and that's probably a safe thing because everybody else that's still alive you can see doing something. Well, they made it this far, they're still alive, and the people that maybe did something else, maybe they didn't survive, right? And there's a really interesting like psychological experiment you can see, it's on YouTube, where they take monkeys in a cage, right? And they put grapes in the cage, right? But like the floor of the cage is electrocuted or something. And anytime the monkey, like there's like maybe 5 monkeys in the cage. If the monkeys try and grab the grape, they all get zapped and they get electrocuted, right? And it's like nobody wants to get electrocuted, so the monkeys learn real quick, don't grab the grape, right? And then they cycle out one monkey and they put in a new monkey that doesn't know about that he'll get electrocuted if he grabs the grape. And they put the grape in, and then the monkey says, oh great, I'm gonna go grab the grape. But all the other monkeys know that, oh, you'll get zapped, so they prevent him from grabbing the grape. And the other monkeys stop him from doing it because they don't want to get zapped. And then they rotate another new monkey in and one more out. And then all the monkeys prevent him from getting the grape because they don't want to get zapped. And then they rotate all brand new monkeys in, where now there's none of the monkeys left in the cage that know about getting zapped, but none of them will get the grape. And when they rotate a new one, all these monkeys that have no idea why, they're preventing the new monkey from grabbing the grape. And none of them have any idea why they're doing that. It's just monkey see, monkey do. And I think that same thing applies to the human societies as well. They see everybody else doing something and they figure, oh, I better do it too. And they don't stop to question, like, why am I doing this, right? Why is everybody else doing this? Is this the right thing to do? And I would like to think that people can be smarter than monkeys and figure it out. But a lot of them don't seem to do that. They just do absolutely whatever everyone else is doing, and they don't stop to think for a minute if it makes sense or not.
Oh, 100%. That ties in really well to the traditions that we're raised with. It's like, okay, every Easter, we're going to put eggs around the yard and go find some eggs. It's like these traditions or these monkey see, monkey do things with the zapping. It's all, I feel like traditions were just placing our faith that the people before us knew what's best. And so we're going to continue to do that, even though yet we have no idea what the relevance is anymore. So yeah, I think looking to external sources for validation is relevant at times. You know, we were talking about Darwinism with the masks, but man, there needs to be some kind of balance there because it gets out of hand really fast.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's not as bad as the Salem witch trials were, but everyone saw witches everywhere in the past, and they were all terrified, and everybody thought that there were witches everywhere. Now I kind of feel like the whole world is seeing coronavirus everywhere, and like, yeah, there's some, but like, you know, people get sick and die all the time. Like that's part of life, right? People die.
Mm-hmm.
So if people didn't die at the end of life, life wouldn't be called anything. It would just be the existence. So that always is and always was. So.
Or as Elon Musk calls it, the simulation.
Could be, right? So.
Yeah. So looking at the traditional economy and then extrapolating that, because we're having a lot of hyperinflation in the United States right now, massive bailouts going to big companies. And I think this has been, you know, especially for cryptocurrency, a really pivotal moment to shine and come through. A lot of us have been waiting for this big, you know, we talk about the bubble of 2017 in crypto, but the bubble of traditional markets has been phenomenal. And so the big pop happened. Maybe the pin was coronavirus. I think the symptoms were already laid out there. Coronavirus was just like the thing that they could place the blame on, the scapegoat. So how do you see cryptocurrency interacting with this current economic crisis? And what do you foresee potentially happening in the next little while?
Yeah, and this feels kind of like the economic crisis that everybody in cryptocurrency have been waiting for the last decade. Like This is finally crypto's chance to shine. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think that there's enough infrastructure ready in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. There's not enough tools for people to bypass the government capital controls and all these different things that are going on in the world. And I think part of the reason why we don't have all that infrastructure is there's this nasty, nasty scaling civil war that went on within Bitcoin. And we actually had negative merchant adoption. We had companies like Microsoft and Dell Computer and Expedia literally stop accepting Bitcoin for payments due to that the full blocks that got imposed on top of Bitcoin. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother podcast. But I think if we hadn't run into that scaling civil war within Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in general would have been much more ready to take advantage of the world that we're seeing today. And instead, you know, Bitcoin's not ready, Bitcoin Cash isn't ready, Ethereum's not ready. Like there isn't a cryptocurrency that's really ready to play a major role in the world economy yet. We still have a lot more infrastructure building to be done. And instead of, you know, building infrastructure, a lot of time and resources and effort and money was diverted into arguing over the scaling debate within Bitcoin. So, which is disappointing.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, Bitcoin Cash, obviously Bitcoin Cash has been fueling that movement towards a scalable Bitcoin solution. And you guys did recently, I think, put together like a $200 million fund. I also saw you guys had some point of sale terminals that were rolling out. They were super cheap, really sexy, really sleek. So what do you see in terms of, like, let's put Bitcoin aside for now, but Bitcoin Cash or like BTC, let's look at BCH. What do you see in terms of what infrastructure needs to be put in place? Or if you were to say, okay, if we would have backtracked this 6 months ago, had all of this infrastructure in place, and then this would have happened, you know, potentially the crypto ecosystem would have really blossomed.
Yeah, I think we need more and deeper integration directly into the traditional financial rails. So you need more payment processors using digital currencies. You need more regular old bank accounts that give you access to buy and sell to and from cryptocurrencies from your, you know, dollars or euros or whatever in your normal bank account. The deeper cryptocurrencies can integrate with the traditional legacy financial system, the easier it is for people to transfer, you know, right over into just living solely in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So I want to see stock exchanges using, you know, digital tokens to represent the stocks that they're busy trading on those markets. So like there's just, you know, anywhere and everywhere you see people using traditional dollars, I wish there was a bridge that people could also use, you know, stuff on the blockchain there, because the deeper you integrate with the traditional financial networks, the easier it will be for people to migrate from the traditional financial networks to these new ones that we're building in the world of cryptocurrency.
For sure. And I think it's a lot simpler of a transition, because when you can get an easy and sleek user interface and people won't even realize they're interacting with crypto, I think that's a lot easier transition than going from, say, cash to credit. like we did say 20 years ago. So yeah, gotcha for sure. Looking at just maybe for someone who isn't, I'm sure lots are, but just to kind of like, maybe beat a dead horse, what are the quick pros and cons of, BCH versus BTC? And yeah, just comparing those two really briefly.
Yeah, so I invite anybody that's new to this, try both, right? Try for
Hmm.
yourself, see for yourself, and then think for yourself. Don't be a monkey see, monkey do person. Be a thinking, rational human being. And you can see that the Bitcoin Cash transactions are fast, cheap, and reliable. And then by the intentional design, the Bitcoin BTC transactions, by the intentional design of the software developers, not by chance, those transactions are slower, more expensive, and less reliable. And that's by their intentional design, by making the blocks full on purpose. And if you hear people say, oh, the fees are low on BTC now, well, that's a failure of the software engineers that are busy planning the roadmap in the future of Bitcoin, because they openly say they want the fees to be high. So if the fees are high, that's horrible for the user experience. If the fees happen to be low on BTC, well, that's horrible for the roadmap that the BTC core developers have laid out for the future. So either way, it's a failure for BTC. So any smart businessman uh, needs something that works every day, long-term, quickly, cheaply, and reliably, and that's Bitcoin Cash. And if any smart investor, you invest where the capital is going to be in the future, not where the capital is already. And so I think the smart investors look at both BTC and BCH. BCH has way more upside potential. Bitcoin Cash has way more upside potential than the BTC version of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin Cash has the possibility of becoming cash for the entire world in every economy, like everywhere. BTC, I don't know, it can be a speculative asset for some more people that like to engage in censorship and propaganda on the internet. So it's really been disappointing for me to see what happened to the BTC community. And they're busy engaging in censorship on what something that was originally created to help people bypass censors, financial censors. So like, talk about a hypocritical doing the opposite thing. It'd be like I don't know, giving people cyanide pills and claiming you're a doctor or something. It's just crazy.
Right. I think potentially one of the biggest arguments that I'm seeing, I'm sure you'd see much more than I would, but advocating for BTC is the block sizes, how easy it is to run a node as an independent user potentially. What are your thoughts on that? What's the validity of smaller, larger block sizes, independence of running nodes?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of nuances there, but like, first of all, it's not very important for an individual user to be able to run a full node. You can just run an SPV wallet. You still have complete control over your own funds. You don't have to trust anybody. Nobody can freeze your account. Nobody can mess with it at all. And then second of all, like if you read the original writings of Satoshi in the original discussion, like the plan was never for users to run full nodes themselves. It was for like, companies would run full nodes and the users would use their lightweight, SPV clients. And if you look at what the end result here is too, so like let's say you manage to keep it so it's super easy and cheap for someone to run a full node themselves, but you only manage to get a couple million people in the entire world to use the system. What good was that? Whereas if you allow the nodes to scale with the amount of people using it, you get billions of people around the world using this platform, but it's too expensive for a home user to run a full node easily. I think that's a better outcome, right? Because you have the entire world using censorship-resistant money rather than a couple of crypto nerds running it on their Raspberry Pi, but you can't buy it, can't spend it at Starbucks or Safeway or whatever the supermarket chain is in your town.
Hmm.
I want to see everybody using this and everybody having the tools to have complete control over their own money without having to get permission from anybody. And larger blocks is the way to do that. And if you study economics too, like the block space should be set by the market, not by a bunch of central planning, software developers, which is exactly what happened on the BTC network.
For sure. So, I feel like all these different currencies, because you have BTC, BCH, BSV, and they all land on different areas of the spectrum in regards to different topics, whether it's block size, speed, the ability to run a node, whatever they are. But taking a quick look at BSV, obviously, I believe like larger block sizes. How would you compare, BCH versus BSV? Because I'm not even too familiar with. I believe they do have larger block sizes, so in theory, quote unquote, more scalable. What are your thoughts on that and comparisons between BCH, BSV?
Yeah, so I like some of the things that the BSV camp say, like let's build a stable platform that businesses can build on top of, and they know it's going to be the same, this year, next decade. Like that's fantastic. I agree with that. But then I see these same BSV people out there saying like, you need to obey the law and do everything that's perfectly legal with cryptocurrency. And it's like, well, if you're just going to do everything the politicians say, why do you need a cryptocurrency? You might as well use PayPal. You might as well use Visa. You might as well use your bank account. you're missing the entire point of cryptocurrency if you think the point of cryptocurrency is to obey the law, which is what I see all these BSV guys saying. So if you want to obey the law with your cryptocurrency, go and use PayPal. You don't need a cryptocurrency.
Gotcha. Oh, so, moving outside the law, what are some of these transactions that you feel like, people should be able to have the freedom to do this? Is it more so privacy or just the freedom to interact with whatever you want, kind of like a Silk Road ecosystem more so?
Yeah, absolutely anything and everything that's peaceful. As long as you're not using force or fraud against somebody else, you should be allowed to do it. And so a prime example of where I would love to see millions and millions more people breaking the law and using cryptocurrency to do that is Venezuela, right? They have an absolutely insane government down there that's impoverishing everybody in the entire country with these stupid economic policies. I would love to see people there use cryptocurrency to break the law and trade with their fellow man using cryptocurrencies to make the world a better place, right? Because as we talked about earlier, anytime you trade anything with anybody, both people are better off. And the Venezuelan government's busy trying to make it as hard as possible for people to trade with each other. Well, I hope they use cryptocurrency to trade even more with each other and ignore the politicians' laws in Venezuela and break the laws, right? And I don't know, as the BSV camp would say, no, you have to obey the politicians no matter what. No, that's stupid, right? Sometimes the politicians are wrong. Sometimes the laws are wrong. If the law says you have to load yourself up onto a boxcar and go off to the camp, you should break the law. You should say, no, I do not consent. If the law says you can't run away from your master and you have to stay with him and pick cotton until the day you die, you should break the law. You should run away and break the law. And don't make any mistake about it. The origin of police in America, they were runaway slave catchers. That's the origin of them. Their job was to go and catch slaves that broke the law and ran away from their slave master. Well, I'm advocating people break the law when the law is wrong. There you have it. And I advocate that they use cryptocurrency to do it.
I think that's incredibly powerful. I think a lot of people, they just say the law is the law and this is the way I have to live my life, stay in the lanes. And I think, especially in the libertarian mindset and what you're talking about here, there's so much validity to being a free thinker, because then we remove that monkey see, monkey do thing, this just perpetuation of traditions and trends and habits that just go down this slippery slope into the lowest common denominator. So 100%, I think there is a lot of validity in people being their own sovereign mind and sovereign nation as much as they can, or sovereign bank account, which is allowed with cryptocurrency. Yeah, there we go. So with the libertarian mindset, I feel like, you embody a lot of that, and it's really respectable and commendable. One thing that happened that I found interesting recently was the BCH, there's a miner's fee, 12.5%. I found it was a little bit of a dichotomy. I certainly understand the economics behind it of perpetuating, the growth of a system, but maybe if you could add a little bit more color to that dichotomy. On one hand, you have libertarianism, tax-free more so. On the other hand, you have, but every transaction is going to have 12.5%.
Yeah, so it sounds like maybe there's some more confusion going on. So some paperwork came out and a bunch of news sites reported that I was behind this and I'm the one supporting it. I never, ever supported it. They just put my name on it without my permission, saying that I support this thing. So a lot of people, I saw a bunch of these Bitcoin maximalists, trolling me on the internet saying, oh, Roger's supporting the B tax, right? All I agreed to was that I would discuss the idea, right? Because I think people should be able to discuss ideas. But all in all, I thought the devil's in the details, and the devil in those details far outweigh the potential benefits that are there from the high level overview. So I think the benefits outweigh the rewards. I've never, ever been in favor of that. And all these people that are news sites that reported that I was are mistaken. So I guess that's a sign that crypto is getting big enough and popular enough where it has its own fake news. So maybe that's a little bit of a good thing for cryptocurrency. But any reports that you saw about me supporting this 12.5%, miner tax on top of Bitcoin Cash was fake news. I never supported it, ever.
Gotcha. And so this is something that, if you could reverse, you would, and it would be 0%
well, it's not happening.
Tax currently.
Yeah, it's not happening. So, yeah.
Okay,
it was discussed,
gotcha.
and there's lots of heated discussion about it. And the end result is it's not happening. It was too contentious, and there weren't enough people in support of it. And it's not happening. So that's a good thing that it's not happening. Bitcoin, including Bitcoin Cash, has a 10-year track record of not having any of the block reward being diverted to pay for software development. And it worked pretty darn well. Don't change things that are working well. And so that's my stance on that.
That's very fair. So, that would have been a good influx of capital to help drive adoption. I know you guys also just recently, or BCH just got a big influx of capital. Where is this capital going to be getting deployed? What do you see as next steps in adoption for BCH. I feel, just to like add context for people who are listening as well, that all boats rise with the tide, and as we can develop one cryptocurrency, this is going to like really help the entire ecosystem. And you guys just got a nice little war chest together to really start driving some integration into traditional markets, like you were mentioning before. So, what's your vision for that capital?
Yeah, the goal is to help use it to build out the tools that enable permissionless peer-to-peer commerce with anybody anywhere in the world without needing permission from any politician. And if a law is stupid, people will be able to break the law with their cryptocurrency. That's kind of the whole point of cryptocurrency. And like I said, laws that are wrong should be broken, right? So run away from your slave master. Break the law when the law is wrong. And I want to build the tools to enable people all over the world to break the law when the law is wrong.
I like that. I think that's a pretty good summary. So what are your thoughts here on, tribalism in the crypto space? Do you feel that, it's one size fits all, that, BCH is the end all be all for payment coins, or do you feel that there's a lot of room for coexistence between different coins?
Yeah, I think there's lots of room for coexistence, just like there's lots of room for coexistence of different soft drinks. And I've never, ever, ever been a Bitcoin maximalist. So a lot of people don't know it, but like one of the very first, other cryptocurrencies other than Bitcoin was Ripple. I put up the money to start Ripple, like way back in 2012. I did that, and I put up the money to start a number of other cryptocurrencies out there as well. So I've never, ever, ever been a Bitcoin maximalist. And I'm not a Bitcoin Cash maximalist. I'm a maximalist on whatever tool I think has the best chance to bring the most, economic freedom to the most number of people around the world in the shortest amount of time. And today I think that that's Bitcoin Cash. If tomorrow I thought it was some other cryptocurrency, I would be out there banging the drum for some other cryptocurrency. And tomorrow, if I thought it was some tool other than a cryptocurrency, I would be out there shouting about that other tool, whatever that happens to be. So I'm a maximalist on whatever works for the most number of people to make the world a better place in the shortest amount of time. And I think Bitcoin Cash is the best tool the world has at the moment. But if that changes tomorrow, I'll be out there promoting whatever that new thing is.
That's very fair. So when you're looking at the crypto space right now, Bitcoin has been reigning king, number one, for a long time. I think a lot of people, and especially now with the security tokens coming into the space, potential stable coins coming in, payment coins such as BCH are really starting to gain traction. Do you feel that there ever will be a flippening of Bitcoin? And if so, what do you feel is the most probable one to be the first one to do so?
Yeah, as long as BTC continues to provide a bad user experience with its slow, expensive, unreliable transactions, it's just a matter of time until something surpasses it in terms of market cap and market share. And so if you want to look at which one's most likely to do it, though, I think you can look at the current market caps, right? So Ethereum, Ripple, and then Bitcoin Cash are the ones that are most likely to surpass it. And so Ethereum, it's just amazing the amount of devs and resources and brain power going into building that ecosystem. Absolutely incredible, the amount of stuff that's happening there. And then same with Bitcoin Cash. It's amazing what's happening there too. And then Ripple, we shouldn't underestimate just how big of a war chest the company has there and how many strategic alliances they have, and what's going to come next from the Ripple guys. They have a lot of talented and smart people there too. And then all the coins farther on down the list, like we shouldn't underestimate any of these. So like I'm sure, Friendster underestimated MySpace, and then I'm sure MySpace underestimated Facebook. And at some point in the future, Facebook very well may underestimate some other, up and coming something out there. So like, just because you're the top dog today doesn't mean you're going to be the top dog tomorrow. And you're certainly not going to be the top dog tomorrow if you're, giving people a bad user experience today, which is like, that's why I left BTC. It stopped being usable for payments for my business. If it had still worked for payments for my business, I would have kept using it. But I needed something that worked. I needed something that worked today, not 18 months from now. And that was Bitcoin Cash eventually.
Gotcha. So yeah, looking at potentially the underdogs now, are there any projects that you have your eye on, not necessarily as an investment, but just some where you feel that what they're doing is really commendable and what they're building in the space is potentially incredibly valuable to drive adoption and more users coming into this crypto space?
I like the privacy coins. The privacy coins are really interesting to me. So the Moneros, the Zcashes, the Zcoins, those sorts of things are really, really interesting to me. And I would love to see more of them start to be used in commerce. I think so many people don't understand that if you have a currency that's only for outlaws, even the outlaws can't use it. So you have to have it used in regular old normal commerce where people are buying, their cat food with their cryptocurrency. Because if people can use it to buy their cat food, they can use it to pay the guy to smuggle them away from, the slave plantation or whatever else it is out there. that people might want to do that's illegal but not immoral with their cryptocurrency. So I think it was Mike Hearn said even outlaws can't use an outlaw currency, and that's exactly right. So we should be focusing on getting as much adoption in regular old, above board mainstream commerce as we possibly can. And that's what I want to see happen. And that's what I'm busy working on with Bitcoin Cash. We have for those that haven't seen it, we have what's called the Bitcoin Cash Register app. So you can turn any iPhone or iPad or Android device into a Bitcoin Cash register for any physical shop in like 20 seconds. It takes to download the app and get it set up. There's no terms of service. There's no sign up. There's no KYC nonsense. You can literally be accepting Bitcoin Cash at your business in like 30 seconds using the Bitcoin Cash Register app. So Bitcoin Cash is absolutely the fastest, easiest cryptocurrency to start accepting at any physical business today. And that's shown by the fact that there's more physical shops around the world accepting Bitcoin Cash today than any other cryptocurrency. There's more Bitcoin Cash accepting shops than there are Bitcoin BTC or Ethereum or Dash or take your pick out there. And that's a really, really strong sign for the future of Bitcoin Cash. And you can see a list of those maps over at map.bitcoin.com as well. It's amazing how many locations there are around the world.
That's a really impressive app. So the merchant would have no idea that they're accepting Bitcoin Cash at all. There's a conversion within the app to the local fiat currency, correct?
Well, they can set it up that way, or they can keep the Bitcoin Cash directly. So another fun way too that people can do, if you have a credit card and you want to buy Bitcoin Cash, but you don't want to, sign up with Coinbase or, go through some crazy KYC process, but a restaurant or a bar owner or some local shop near you that you're friends with and you trust the owner, what you can do is you can set up their Bitcoin Cash Register app at their shop, and you leave your credit card with them, and you tell them anytime a customer comes in and wants to pay with Bitcoin Cash, you just accept it using the Bitcoin Cash Register app, and the Cash Register app will forward it directly to whatever address you set it to there. And you tell the store owner, just bill my credit card anytime anybody pays with a Bitcoin Cash. And then that way the person that owns the credit card, basically the effect is that they're buying Bitcoin Cash with their credit card with no markup whatsoever. You can have a new local merchant that's on board now accepting Bitcoin Cash in your area. Yeah. And then the store owner's happy because, maybe some more crypto nerds will come in the store and buy something that wouldn't have come there previously otherwise. So, and then if you're friends with the owner of the store too, like you don't have to give him a bunch of extra KYC stuff. You don't have to give him a copy of your driver's license. Like he knows you, you know him. Everybody's happy. And so it's a fantastic way to get more people using cryptocurrency and accepting cryptocurrency and spending cryptocurrency. And that's how you supplant the traditional financial system, is by getting people to use this parallel cryptocurrency ecosystem. So I'm really a big fan of the Bitcoin Cash Register app and like kind of sponsoring a merchant with your own credit card to accept Bitcoin Cash. And then you can go and take the money and spend it on Purse.io for like a 25% discount on Amazon or whatever you want there. So there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do with the cryptocurrency once you have it.
I love it. I'm just envisioning Gladys selling cupcakes. Now she's an OTC Bitcoin Cash dealer, slanging it to the crypto people. That is super.
And it makes it easy. You just give them your credit card, and like if Gladys selling your cupcakes is 75 years old, she probably knows how to swipe a credit card. The cryptocurrency might be hard for her, but great. Everybody gets what they want. You get the cryptocurrency with no fee on your credit card. And then you might even, depending on what the store is selling or whatever with your credit card that's billing your credit card, maybe there's a tax write-off for the credit card owner there as well, right? Because all that happens is you just see a thing on your credit card receipt showing whatever it is that you bought from Gladys's cupcake shop or whatever it is. So so I think there's a lot of good synergy there.
Oh, interesting way you can move the numbers around. That is super interesting. I feel, and I think grandma proofing is one thing that I always talk about quite a lot. And, it seems like this is, and that's to the furthest thing away. Like we're not even at mom proof yet in a lot of crypto things, like even with Ledger, Ether Wallet, like the most used applications in crypto, still a real pain in the neck to get going, even for someone who's been fairly familiar with it. So yeah, if Gladys with her cupcakes can get this thing rolling, I think that's saying something for the ease of use. So kudos to you guys for putting that together. Well, looking into the future here, what else are you looking forward to and excited about implementing in terms of the infrastructure for Bitcoin Cash?
So one of the main things that I'm the most excited about, I mentioned I like privacy coins before. Well, Bitcoin Cash is going to have privacy just as strong as any privacy coin. In fact, you can get the alpha version right now today. It's called Cash Fusion. And basically what it does is it combines your inputs in your wallet with a bunch of other people's inputs and then outputs. And so there's more potential ways to put the money in and take the money out than there are atoms in the entire universe, right? So any of these chain analytics companies that's trying to spy on your transaction and they say, okay, where's the money going? Oh, there's more potential ways it could have gone than there are atoms in the entire universe. Now you have fungible money, right? You have fungible money
Right.
for the entire world. And so privacy is just a little slightly scarier way of saying the word fungibility, right? In order for money to be good money, it has to be fungible. Every piece of money has to be the same as every other one. And so the side effect of that is that the money becomes private. Well, Bitcoin Cash has that with Cash Fusion. And I can't wait to build Cash Fusion right into the Bitcoin.com wallet. So all 10 plus million wallets created on the Bitcoin.com wallet platform will have this tool available to them, where they'll have, transactions as private as there are, potential numbers of atoms there are in the entire universe. So like, good luck to any of the, my goal with that is to put these blockchain analytics companies that are trying to spy on everybody and sell the data. I want to put them out of business by building the tools that work so well that there's no data for them to spy on or collect. That's my goal.
Gotcha. I love it. As systems become more robust, more mainstream, allowing people to transact without the pressure of regulatory bodies, governments, all these kinds of things, governments are going to get a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth. And whenever you take away a piece of their pie, generally they try to strike back. For example, in Bitcoin Cash, you're a huge advocate. I think there's a lot of other public facing people in support of Bitcoin Cash and developing out the ecosystem. How do you see regulatory oversight coming into play potentially over the years as this potentially gets larger, and any impact as well as the immutability of the network, as let's just assume that regulators across different government bodies really do start to try to crack down to the best of their abilities?
So I'm in favor of market-based regulation. So if you look at eBay, they have a reputation system that was built totally by eBay, where you can see which sellers are trustworthy and which ones aren't. And like eBay will kick the untrustworthy ones off the platform. Same with Amazon and same with all these things. So that works really, really well. And it's all voluntary, right? So people, if Amazon doesn't want you to use their platform, you don't get to use their platform. And so it's really, really neat to see that sort of thing happening in the market. Whereas when you talk about government regulators, in that case, or government regulation, it's just a euphemism for threatening peaceful people with violence, right? And that's the only weapon that government, or that's the only tool government has, is a club or a stick or a gun to hurt people with if they don't do what they say. So like, anytime any group of people is threatening other peaceful people with violence, it's not okay. And that's exactly what these government regulators do. And so I'm looking forward to seeing government regulation supplanted with market-based regulation, because market regulation does a much better job of protecting the consumers and protecting the people in the marketplace. And it's not immoral, right? You're not busy threatening a bunch of peaceful people with violence, with stolen money to pay all those people to do it, which is exactly what the government regulators are. So I can't wait to see the government regulators get replaced with market-based regulation across the board.
I certainly agree with you that the market regulation is infinitely more effective. You look at something like Silk Road, where, you had people selling narcotics, but everything was rated, it was tested. You had people like, yeah, this was great. And so people were able to buy drugs in a safe way, know the dose. And to me, that's incredibly powerful, because otherwise you're getting stuff off the street. You don't know what's in it. You don't know how it's cut. You don't know the dosage. And I think that applies to a massive spectrum, not just narcotics. But I feel like, and I agree that market regulation infinitely better, but the powers that be, quote unquote, don't necessarily want that to happen. So how do you see that power dynamic playing out? Because it's not like they're just going to roll over and say, oh, okay, yeah, free market, like we'll take our hands off for now.
Yeah, maybe we have to figure out tools to force their hands off, right? Or tell them, when the normal mafia, when the mafia that doesn't wear a bunch of costumes and work with buildings and flags out in front come around, and store owners tell them no, sometimes they do bad things, but sometimes store owners manage to get the mafia to leave them alone. So we'll have to see and figure out the ways to do that. Maybe anonymous darknet markets are one way to do that. So but maybe there's other ways. So I'm a big fan of agorism, right? Just go and do your own thing and live your own life, and do anything that's peaceful, so long as you're not hurting somebody else. And the people that want to use violence against other people, I hope the rest of us that know that it's not okay to use violence against peaceful people will start telling the violent people, hey, back off, leave people alone, stop it. And it's up to all of us to speak out and make the world a better place that we want to all live in. So I think there's just so much of this monkey see, monkey do, though, right? Like, people spent 12 years in these mandatory youth propaganda camps. And you're probably thinking, mandatory youth propaganda camps, so it's government schooling, right? You're taught from day one that the government's great. Everything the government does is here to help you, and this and that. Well, it's just like the monkeys in the cage that are, they all tell the other ones, like, don't grab the grape. And then eventually none of them know why. And then, like, when, the kids that are in school today become adults, they'll think, oh, well, my kids should go to the government school because that's what I did. And they never stop to think, well, with the internet and Khan Academy and like YouTube, like maybe you could learn a heck of a lot more at home on the computer, or just studying independently than going and sitting in a classroom for 12 years. And then you see this big giant push to get the government, in the US and maybe other countries to fund, for people going to college. Well, if the government didn't do a good job educating people in the first 12 years, why do you think they're going to do a good job in the next, 4 years? So it's just a bunch of madness out there. So like probably one of the best things people can do is find a topic that they're interested in and then go and learn about it. You have access to the internet. You can learn about absolutely anything from, physics to how to become a dog catcher. You can learn anything you want to learn about on the internet. You don't need to go to school to do it. It just seems like, once you know how to read and write and, once you know how to read and write, you can get everything else from there. You can learn, you can teach yourself math, you can teach yourself everything from there. And so I think the days of, government mandatory youth propaganda camps where you're saying the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, I think those days need to come to an end, and the money would be much, much better spent on other things.
This is it. I feel education is a very not one size fits all thing. And there's an image, it's an image of a tree and there's all these animals at the bottom, like a fish, a monkey, a snake. And the teacher saying, okay, your task for today is climb a tree. And that just really sticks out in my mind that, we're not all one size fits all. We do all need a diverse range of educations for our different personalities. For you personally, what have you found, maybe in your own personal life, some of your favorite self-educational tools, books, things that you've been diving into recently, potentially?
So for deeper things like reading books you can look at all of human history, right? And so there's been like a number of people that are just absolutely brilliant, amazing minds with amazing insights. If you read the books that were written by those people, it's like you get to sit down and have a one-on-one tutoring session with some of the smartest people who have ever lived. Like, you think you're going to get an education that good with your, local, and as wonderful as some of the teachers are in the local, schools, you're not going to get the same level of education from them as if you sit down and read a book by like some of the great minds of history, like, Murray Rothbard or Ludwig von Mises or Henry Hazlitt or Adam Smith or Milton Friedman, or take your pick. Like there's a bunch of people out there, and as wonderful as like the teachers may be in the local school, they're not in the same league as, the Ludwig von Mises of the world, or the Adam Smiths of the world, or the Isaac Newtons of the world. And so if you pick up the books by these guys, you literally get like a one-on-one tutoring session with some of the smartest people to have ever lived. So I think that's a much, much, much better way to spend some time than in some classroom, teaching kids the same way they've been teaching kids for hundreds of years. Like that way's outdated. Or if you want to learn how to do anything at all specific in your own life, just go on YouTube. Guaranteed there's a tutorial video. So I wanted to learn how to set something up actually last night that I didn't know how to do because I hadn't done it before. Boom, I went on YouTube. Oh, here's a tutorial. Some guy made a step-by-step guide on how to do exactly what I wanted to do. And 20,000 other people had watched this guy's same guide on how to do what I wanted to do. So like, if you think about it, like how many people does the average, elementary school teacher teach per year? I don't know, maybe 100 kids if they rotate like a couple classes through, right? And so if their careers for like 20 years, 100 kids times 20 years. So like, what is that? 2,000 kids they'll teach. This guy taught 20,000 people how to do something just by making a YouTube video, right? So if you think you have something to teach the world, go and make a YouTube video, go and make a website, go and write a blog. Like you could reach so many more people that way and help make the world a better place and spread, knowledge and truth around the world by doing that far better than by becoming some, teacher in a traditional, government school. So I'm a big fan of independent, self-directed learning that never ever stops, right? I'm 41 years old and I'm learning new things every single day. And when I get off this call with you, I'm going to pick up another book and I'm going to read some books this afternoon when I'm not busy, doing my email stuff. The learning should never stop, and the internet is probably the best tool the world has ever had for people to share knowledge with each other. So far better than even books.
I like it. I think you have some pretty on point philosophies, spread knowledge, think for yourself, live peacefully. I think that's tough for anyone to dispute. I really want to thank you for coming on today, Roger. I really appreciate you taking the time. And for everyone who's tuning in, I'll see you guys next time.
And if you like this video and this content, share this video with your friends, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, do all that good stuff because it helps in the YouTube algorithms, and it spreads the ideas that if you like these ideas, it'll help spread them in the world. So it's up to you to share them. Thank you all, and see you next time.